Similar to the earlier episodes where we created the sections for loading the table view cell, or at least configuring your table view, let's create something even for the airports. Create a type alias airport items section. So this is something which we are doing for making it work with RxDatasources, so that your table view can be configured or data bound using RxSwift. So that's what we are doing. So our section model is part of, like, if you have been following, it's part of RxDatasources. Let's include RxSwift. Might also need RxDatasources and also RxCoco. In these things might be needed, so I'm just including as such right here. And then pass the default, maybe int is the section type. I'm not passing any string because we are not going to show the section title or something, so I'm just going to keep it as int, and then pass the airport view presentable. So this is the representation of your view model, which is going to actually configure each and every item, which is the cell. So that's what this is, airport view presentable. So we created the airports item section, which now we are going to use to pass to through the output. We have the output. We need two things. One is the title, which is more like for that view. Right now we don't have any title, so once you come to, let's say, this section, it's going to show, it's already showing the back button airports, but it's also going to show you the city which you have chosen here. That's the title which you are going to show here. So that's what we're going to use here. Driver string, and then we need all the airports to be shown for that city. Airports driver, and it's going to be of this array type of airport section which we created now, airport item section. So those two things are going to be outputted to your view model, view controller, and within the input we will get to see something. Right now we don't need it because we are not going to navigate to a different screen as yet. It's going to happen in a future episode, but at that point we will actually show a MapKit where it will show you that specific airport in a map view. So that's when we'll include this type, the input type, where airport selected driver will be associated. That's going to happen later, so let's keep that for the future. Let's add something called dependencies, which we need to pass to this view model. Dependencies, again a tuple. I'm gonna pass the title, which is nothing but the city which you have chosen, coming back as a string. Then I'm gonna pass receive the models, which is coming from the other module when you're actually making that selection. That's going to be a set of airport model. And then finally I'm gonna receive a current location, but I'm just gonna keep it for the next episode. We're just gonna use these two right now to make that data table view to be bound. So we receive this two dependencies. So these dependencies are gonna come through the init, which I'm gonna create in a bit. So these are now something we need to create. One more thing, the type alias, the ViewModelBuilder. We need that ViewModelBuilder. This is what is actually going to build your view model. Finally, it is going to accept this specific type's input. We don't have an input yet, but I'm just keeping it because once you have something here, we need to pass that input here while creating that view model, and it's going to build your view model, which is your this type itself. It's going to build you airports view presentable. That is the view model's protocol representation, the presentable. That's what it's going to create. It takes an input, creates a view model. That's just, there's nothing but a closure that we are creating. So let's now create the other parts which are required. So I'm going to include an init now, which is going to accept the input. There is an input required. I'm just going to use the input. Because this input is what will create you the output. And then I'm going to accept the dependencies as well, which is going to come through that search city coordinator. This is my dependencies, which is going to be of this specific type. Dot dependencies type alias of this specific presentable. So I'm gonna accept that input self.input is input, and output is going to be something we're gonna generate similar to how we were doing in all the earlier episodes. So let's create a extension, AirportsViewModel, keep it private. I'm gonna create a function, static function called output, which will accept maybe the dependencies. Let's keep it here and then see what is required to be passed. So this is going to finally create an output type for me. Let this be a static function, and this output is what is going to send out the sections. If you know, like this output is having that section which we defined, airports. So that's gonna come through this. So output, it's expecting me to return something. So output is needing the title and the model. So let's create those two. So we can just call this as self.output is equal to this ViewModel static function, private function called output. It's gonna give me this output. So now let's do this thing. Return. It's gonna return two things. First is title, which we know it's coming through the dependency. Let's include dependency here. Dependencies dot title. I'm gonna create a driver for that. Driver.just is gonna accept this and then send it as a title. And then the second thing is the airports. So let's keep it as an empty driver for the time being, just that it does not give me any error. So here it is asking me to pass the dependencies. So I already have the dependency, I can just pass it. So there is no error now, but we still need to pass this airport section. So let's work on that now. So how do we create that? Let's create something called as a sections, and we need to convert our model to an observable so that we can transform it into a view model. So I can just say observable.just, maybe even driver.just, and then it can accept the dependencies.models. Now this is a driver of models which you have created. Now I can map it to create something else, which is our airport model. So I can just say map to, so this is giving me a set of airport model. Finally I can transform it into something which I want to send as a section or something. So I can just say I can just do this. So this is giving me a $0. I can say a compact map on it and then use that to create airport view model, which is accepting. Now where is my airports? It's not airports view model, airport view model accepts using model. So this each item is a model for me, so I can just pass a $0. So that's actually creating your view model. That's done. So view model is created. Now I need to convert that into a section. What is that error? Okay, that's fine. But still, it gives me more clarity if I can have it as params here. I can just say models in, maybe then I can just pass this. I don't think I'll get that error again then. Yeah, that's fine. Models got compact map, and then each item it takes and creates this. And then after that, let's again map it to something called as the section, airport item section. So for that, it is going to airport item sections is going to be an array again. This we need to pass an array, airport item section. It's going to accept a model. I can always keep it as 0. So I'm not going to have more than one section. So I'm just keeping it as 0, and it's accepting an array of items. So that's going to create me an array of items. So this is my final sections. So this is what I did: converted my models to a driver, transformed it into an array of view models, and then again transformed it into an array of airport item section. So now I can just pass this, because this is the type which was expected. I don't think it's going to give an error, so this is fine now. So that's my return, title and the airports. I have returned both of those. Now, because this job is done, input, I have an init, and next thing, if I have to associate the view model to the view controller, I need to go back to my Airports view controller and do something similar to what we have done here: private view model and a internal view model builder. So similar thing. Let's do that. Private var view model of type airports view model, airports view presentable, because we are not going to expose view models here, and then a view builder, view model builder, which is of type airport view presentable dot airport. What is that we defined? Type alias view model builder. That's my view model builder, and then I just can call this here. So if I want to create a view model here, I can just say self dot view model, and then view model, and then I can access this view model builder, and then pass the input. In this case, it's going to be an empty input, because we are not defining anything. Like if you go to the view presentable, at least you see that the input is just an empty tuple. So when you are using the airport view model builder, if you access it, this closure, using this input, then it's going to create you the view model. So because this input is empty tuple, I'm also passing that empty tuple here, which actually creates you view model. So view model creation is happening within this view did load. So that association is also done. So we also need to pass this association here. Like you need this closure to be passed from outside, which is going to happen in your airports coordinator. So this is where we created, similar to like you see here. How did we create it? We have the view. We created it using the view model builder. We associated the view model using the view model builder, and then just associated it here. Similar thing we're going to do even in airports coordinator. So we have the view dot view model builder is equal to, this is again like a closure. It's accepting an input and returning an output. So this is my closure. it's supposedly gonna use input here and then use that. So I'm just gonna use $0 instead here. So my view model is Airports View Model. It's accepting input, which is going to be $0, which is sent when you're actually doing that view did load. That's the value it will receive here. And then the dependencies, which is like the title models, it is going to receive. So those things, did we pass anywhere? We are not yet passed, because we need to pass the title here, or we need to pass the models here. So let's do that. Models, set of airport view model, airport model, airport model, and the navigation. So now I have the, maybe I can create a private variable for that. Let models set of airport model, then accept that here. Self.models equal to models, and then I can use it here. Self.models cannot convert. Okay, this is more like a dependency which we need to pass. So we need all the things. So we need more than one thing. So this model is already carrying the title information. So all that I need to do is, I can just say this title is coming from, I have the models. It is, at least I can pick the first of that model and then use that city. Then that's it. I don't think it's going to come back without a city, but still I'm just keeping it as empty if it does not receive something. And then I can just say self.models, maybe this being a closure, it's better that I pass it here. I don't know, it's anyway not going to be a problem because it's not going to hold this, I guess, but still I'm just passing it. It's now missing here, so it needs a model here. We already have the model here, we can pass that, and that's it. So that's the change we needed. Now it's receiving. View is associated with the view model through this ViewModelBuilder, and internally it is getting built when this view is getting loaded in the AirportViewController. When view did load happens, view model gets created using this ViewModelBuilder. That's what is happening here. So that's also done. Maybe I can just forcecast this. Oh, it's fine. Maybe take this out, make it cleaner. City, a title, that's my title. I can just pass that as title here. Then it's asking me to return. That's it. So association is complete. So let's at least see what we can do with that title here. We need a function similar to like whatever we did here. We need view did load, and then we have a setup UI, setup binding, all these things. Let's create those functions. Private extension for your view controller. Extension Airports View Controller. Private, and then function set up UI void, and then set up binding. All that I need to do is call here self.setup UI, self.setup binding, and then within the binding something can come here. Maybe I'll do that. Setup binding, I'm gonna use the view model, self.viewModel dot output dot title. It's a driver, so I can just directly associate with the title. How have I done that? Let me just check. Okay, setup UI is used at least. So this title, I can just say title dot drive on my view controller's title. That's all I need to do, and then I can just dispose it. We don't have a bag yet. Let's create that. Private let bag equals dispose bag, which needs RxSwift dispose bag, and that's okay. That's done. So title is bound. Let's just run and see whether we see that title. Mumbai. Yes, that's what we sent. It's picking up that title now. Let's now build this table view. So now we have the table view. We need to register that cell. So let's do that first thing. Table view dot register using nib UI nib name UI nib named. My nib name is airport cell. Bundle ID nil. It's not yet a framework, so this you can just keep it as nil itself. Once it becomes a framework, these things are going to change. So that's something interesting. If you are, we'll take that up soon. Private static, because it's a good idea that we keep it as frameworks. Everything private static airport cell identifier, private static let cell ID AirportViewController dot cell ID. That's my table view cell identifier. That's done. So now next step is that I bind the airports with the table view. Self dot view model dot output dot airports needs to drive my table view, which is self dot table view dot rx dot items. It needs a data source now, which is what we need to create. So before, let's keep this commented, come back to this soon because we need that data source created. So let's create a private lazy thing. Private lazy var data source equals, it needs rx table data source. So let's import that rx data sources rx table view section reload. I'm going to use section reload. Animation is something, if you're interested, you can use the other one called sectioned animated data source, and it accepts airport item section function. Now it will ask you to configure. It will ask you to add all that things which is needed. Configure cell using the section. Finally it returns you the cell. So let's do that. It needs section, table view, index path, and the view model item. I'm gonna pass all that. Section not needed, table view yes, then we need index path yes, finally the item, which is the view model item. So I'm just passing all that, and then gonna create that airport cell, which is as simple as table view dot dq. Why does it not come up? Return this. DQ, I need that. that the reason? Okay, I'm just gonna use it and then keep it as not self. It's not self because we are going to use this table view requeue with the identifier which we created as AirportsViewModel dot cell ID index path. That's my cell as airport cell, and I need to configure that cell so that it loads the table view items, table view cell items. I have the configure function. Do I have it? Where is it? It's an airport cell. Oh, I cast it as this. Configure using the view model, which is the item coming as part of this item. So that's configuration. That's also done. So now it should, I can directly use this as a data source here. Items, data source, argument, which is our items. I think I picked up the wrong one. Items, data source, this one. Yeah, and then I can just say dispose by back. That's it. I think this should be enough to load your table view cells. Let's go back and see. Mumbai. Yeah, all white. And this has to be in 2 lines. Maybe that's something we can do. Cell is fine. Table view, secondary system, background color, yeah, that looks better. Maybe more spacing will make it look more better. New York, that's too much spacing, but still intention is like load this, and that's working. And maybe the 2 lines here maybe make it look even better. So I think this is what pretty much I wanted to show you. In the next episode I'll just fix this one and then show you, along with showing the real time. Right now it's showing as 0 kilometers, but this is going to get sorted based on the distance. The least distant one is going to come at the top and the most distant at the bottom. So that sorting as well is going to come up in the next episode. So this is what I wanted to show in this episode. And we have to fix that memory issue where if you, let's say, go back, it's not going to release that view controller, at least that view coordinator, because the child is still held by the parent. That's what we need to also fix. So that's coming up. Distance calculation, this table view fix, cell fix, then height fix, and then finally the routing, which will actually fix that memory management thing. So that's coming up pretty soon. So until the next episode, it's bye from me.